Looking for a fast-charging, ultra-responsive stylus for your iPad? Meet the 2X Fast Charge Active Stylus Pen, designed for 2018 to 2025 Apple iPads. Take your creativity and productivity to the next level. Click the link in the video description to shop now on Amazon.
F1 used to be all cash, supermodels, and private jets, but now drivers are stuck in slow lane, and I know who's to blame. You may fancy the idea of being a Formula One racing driver. All that money, all those supermodels, and all that world travel on private jets. Heaven. No, it is, not anymore. Because when you are a Formula One racing driver, you spend 3 hours a week driving your car and 300 hours being interviewed by every damn Herbert with an iPhone. You don't get this in any other sport. Footballers arrive at the stadium and scuttle off a bus into a dressing room. After the match, maybe one player has to answer one question, and then that's that. They're all back on the bus. But in Formula One, everyone is interviewed all the time. On the way to the track, on the track, before the race. After the race, it's constant. And if you finish in the top 3, it's worse because then you are interviewed after the race, before being put in a room with the other podium finishers, so we can hear what you are saying to one another. And then, there are more interviews. If I were an F1 driver and on course for a victory, I'd cruise round the last lap and deliberately come fourth. And in between all of these TV interviews and press conferences, there's an army of damnful influencers who stick a phone in your face and ask whether you prefer biscuits to cheese and whether you prefer pink or brown. And you are forced, by the small print in your contract, and because your lawyers aren't as good as your team's lawyers, to face this onslaught with a smile. Not anymore, it seems. In Australia last weekend, Fernando Alonso pointed out to an interviewer that he would be polite but say nothing. Max Verstappen did much the same thing. When asked how rain would affect his race, he said, "It will make the track more slippery, and I'll have to take that into consideration." This new thinking definitely had an effect on those most recent series of Drive to Survive. In the early days, we were regularly treated to hissed altercations, as people didn't realize they were being recorded. Now, whenever anyone sees a Netflix microphone, they go into PR mode. Aston Martin didn't take part at all. It's like they simply weren't there. And I approve of this. A Formula One driver should have some mystique. I actually don't want to know what they're doing after the race, or where they go on holiday, or whether they prefer biscuits to cheese. I like to use my imagination because, in my head, they're all James Hunt. And not some model in a toothpaste commercial. SIRSDARMER wants to weigh me, and he wants to weigh us all. And if the scales say we are too heavy, he wants to force feed us with drugs to make us slim again. For once, I'm with him on something. We do need to tackle obesity, because it costs the NHS a fortune, and having seen myself in a mirror, a fat person is revolting to look at. I do have one suggestion, though. Instead of using drugs to make us thinner and fitter and healthier, why not get people to eat locally grown food? A French politician announced recently that France should take back the Statue of Liberty, which it gifted to the US in 1886, because America is no longer deserving of such a thing. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt responded by pointing out that if it weren't for America, people in France would now be speaking German. I'm not sure she understands how the world works, because when you invade a country, you may nick its mineral reserves and alter its laws. But you don't force the people there to change the way they speak. And another thing, America was 2 years late for World War II, and could only liberate France by setting off from Britain, which had been punctual and there from the start. Motor racing lost one of its greats this week when, at the age of 76, Eddie Jordan succumbed to cancer. His wife, Marie, said he lit up a room, and she's absolutely right. He did. But usually because he'd set fire to it. I have spent very many happy nights with Eddie over the years. And I can't remember any of them. I guess we've all seen those dashcam videos of drivers reversing into the car behind, saying that they've been rear-ended and then claiming they've got terrible whiplash. Well, how's this for a plan if you're in a car and you reckon someone's about to do this? Don't just sit there. Let them start reversing, then engage ramming speed and give them some real whiplash to moan about. There's been talk all week that Sir Starmer is going to cut benefits. No, he is. It's not in his DNA to do that. Like all good Marxists, he believes that those who work hard are duty-bound to pay for those who won't work at all. Which brings me on to the man who works tirelessly every day in my garden. He came to work on Monday this week with a terrible eye infection. It looked like he'd been hit in the face with a cricket ball, and he was so dizzy he could hardly stand up. And what he did was a lot of shouting. You may have heard him, even if you were in Scotland. It seems that he'd been unable to get a doctor's appointment and had been forced to sit at home all weekend, watching his jobless neighbors, who live in social housing across the street, take delivery of a new flat-screen television, and then break off from installing it to open the door to the man who comes round every week to valet their car. A huge fire at an electrical substation closed Heathrow Airport, and you may ask why there was no backup generator. Well, it turns out that there was, but they'd installed it so close to the main power supply system that it, too, was engulfed in the flames. Of course it was. And the second backup, why didn't that start up? Well, according to Ed Miliband, who's responsible for airport substations not catching fire, no one knows. I do, it's British. So like the roads, the mobile phone coverage, the trains, the water supply, Hammersmith Bridge, HS2, the health service, the army and our border security, it doesn't work.